Welcome back to Dive Twang. I'm Dave. A couple things going on today. The material that we're looking at is two-note harmonies uh, moving in sequence over dominant seventh chords. So this was another way to rephrase that. If we have a dominant seventh chord in A7, we've got licks that take place on two strings. In this case, there's a string between it. I'm on the B and the D. Okay, and that's over A7. So they're really Mixolydian type licks. We'll talk about that more in just a second. So there's a preview of kind of like the sound we're going to be going for. Okay. Along with that, along the way, we're going to comment on the use of loopers for practicing, right? And today I don't have a backing track that I put on the sequencer, and that's why you always see me reaching over and turning it off and on and so forth, right? And then later on, when I make most of the videos, I edit it and I put a little fade in and a little fade out sometimes for the demonstration portions. Today, you're just going to hear it's just like you're sitting in here with me. You're going to hear me clicking this little stomp box looper and stuff. I'm not selling loopers. I'm not going to mention the names of any of them or whatever. The one I've got right here is a very simple machine. It's about the size of half a stick of butter. It's unbelievable how small it is, really. And I don't know, it probably costs the same as like 4 full sticks of butter these days or something. That's an exaggeration, but man, groceries are high, right? That's real. There's no doubt about it. This thing, I think it costs $39 or something. I'm not that cheap. If I need gear, I'll buy it. I do it all the time. But this is all I need. It has one button, does what I need it to do. So it also saves me a lot of time. Like in lessons, it's invaluable, right? Because it could say, oh, okay, yeah, here's the idea, and here's what it would sound like over the chords or something, right? And also just in practice for all of us, if you want to practice some skills or some licks that you've been working on, and you're like, oh, I need to find a backing track and get on YouTube, and I want it to be in a key that I like, and I want it to be at a tempo that I like, and next thing you know, it's 20 minutes of valuable practice time, been consumed doing that. There's great stuff on YouTube with backing tracks and stuff. And once you get your skills dialed in a little bit and settled in, then you can go and really have fun with the backing tracks. But if you're really learning something, do yourself a favor, get one of these things and just kind of do it yourself. It also, lets you connect to the wholeness of what you're learning, the chord, the rhythm, the tempo, how the notes that you're playing interact with the chord. And it just creates all sorts of learning growth edges that you wouldn't get if you just always go find a backing track, right? And, for me, it saves me time because if I go on YouTube to do anything, including find a backing track, the next thing you know, I'm like watching a video, of Doc Watson in a campground in North Carolina in 1978. I'm gone. That's just me. I see something flash by, and that's it. I'm done. I'll totally forget what I was, set out to do or whatever. So maybe you have more focus than that, hopefully. And I might learn something cool that I wasn't looking for in that process too. But sometimes you just want to be efficient. The looper really helps you with that. So let's break this down on the A7 thing. There's our chord. And this is a chord. It just has 2 tones in it. But they're part of an A major triad. There's an A on the B string and a major third C sharp on the D string, skipping over the G. And it doesn't really make much noise because when you do that, if you just kind of adjust your hand, it just sort of mutes it out naturally. It's really nice. Okay, so there's a little lick of its own, just sliding up to that. Throwing a little pentatonic blues lick there with it. Okay, I'm sliding him from 2 under on the D and then, all right, now move that down 2 frets. Okay, and we get some other nice chord tone extensions of the A7. Well, one of them's named because when we slide this root A down 2 frets, it's G, the note's G, and that's the flat 7. That's what makes the A the 7th, an A7. Okay. And we're going to bring this one on down as well, right? So the shape just stays the same using my first 2 fingers. And so this one goes from C sharp to B. Now what's B? I'll give you a second here. What's B with respect to an A7 chord? What tone is that? What extension? It's the 2nd degree of the scale if we were counting from a major scale, right? So we call that the 9, the 2 or the 9. In this case, we would refer to it as the 9. And so now we've got root 3rd, flat 7, 9. Nice. Those are. You hear about these tones all the time. It's just like, oh, but do I just like jump out from nowhere and hit them, or how do I, work that stuff in? Well, here's how. Now the next move, I'm going to switch to my 2 middle fingers on this hand. Okay, and I'm on the 7th fret, again, working with the B and the D, skipping over the G string, and I've got an F sharp and an A. So the A is an easy one, that's the root. Again, F sharp. What's that in the context of an A or A7 chord? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the 6 of the A7 chord. So now I've got a root and a 6. Very major pentatonic. Okay, now we're going to slide that one down too. Think of it as 2 little groupings. Okay, 6 and a root. Slide it down. 6 turns into 5, or goes to 5. Not really a metamorphosis. It just moves. And then, of course, this one's going from a root down a whole step to the flat 7 again, G. So see what's happening? Now you're all of a sudden, we're playing a bunch of chord tones and extensions by using this sequence. And it's very musical and sounds nice because it glides, and there's a lot of overlap if you kind of do like a back and forth picking maybe. Hear that? This is where you want to get your loop on, or just off to the side. But let me make a real simple loop of an A7 and just demonstrate how I would investigate that. And that's going to include different kinds of rhythmic, routines. Or maybe one that's real even. Right. And also sliding up and then back. See, I'm not picking very much, but all of those notes, both of those strings continuously have sound. Okay, so let's make a little loop. You ever know if your loop is good until you hear it? We can live with that, right? Sometimes you get that little hesitation, just do it over, you know. Now see, I'm not, I was playing faster than my loop, so. I just want to play faster, don't I? Okay. Another benefit right there. It's I tried to rush it and I had to make an adjustment. That's a nice essential, training thing in and of itself, right? I'm adjusting to the context of what I'm playing over, right? It's nothing wrong with just playing, solo and working the stuff out. But as soon as you get into some kind of, backing track or loop, then you're next level. You're up leveling it because you have to cooperate, coexist with the rhythm and the progression part of it, right? So when I made that loop, I was thinking like, let's keep it really low key. But of course, when I started playing over it, my hand and my body wanted to do a different groove. So good example there of how it makes you adjust. Now, I may have mentioned at the beginning, I hope so. If not, I will now, that these licks are Mixolydian, in the sense that they're not, people ask me all the time, are you just harmonizing A right there? Great question. Like, am I just going up like an A major scale and harmonizing it? Actually, in this case, we're not. We're actually going up a D major scale if you want to associate it with a pure major. Like, what are you talking about? It's A, but it's A with a flat 7. That means that it's actually the same bucket of notes as a D major scale. If I start on A and play those same notes, I get a G instead of a G sharp, right? Don't get sidetracked by that. If that just sounded like a blur, don't worry about it right now. But if parts of that made sense, it's what's happening is if I do harmonize a D scale on 2 strings, and I play over this loop at the right tempo, hopefully. It works. Doesn't it sound like it works to you? But it wants to resolve to the A. It's an A chord. So it's like I'm playing off of the 5th degree of that key of D major, A Mixolydian. Again, If that bothers you, don't worry about it. Just think of it as A major with a flat 7. But for those of you that question may have already come up, or you thought, oh yeah, wait a second, that makes sense, right? It because it's a modal thing. It's a Mixolydian sequence, what we're doing here. And here's why that really matters, because let's say we went up to the 4 chord or any other dominant 7 chord, but it's no mystery after we go. That's going to happen a lot, okay? So here's why this is important. We don't just keep playing the same sequence, okay? It's not like the blues scale or something where you just play that over the whole blues progression. When you go to that new chord, you do the same business off of that root, okay? And you start really working on this yourself, you'll see the meaning of all of that come together. And here's some good news. You know how we started here with our A root right there with our index finger? Exact same shape for the D, except we move it up to the E and G strings, right? With the B being skipped. The B string, right, is being skipped. Root third, flat 7, 9, 6, root 5, flat 7. The same formula, of course, right? We just moved it. All right. Now, hopefully you'll see in your own investigation that that's different. We're not just starting on a different part of the same thing that we did in A. It's different, right? Here's an example. If I went over the D7, okay, right away, if I'm going to go back to the A, I'm on a minor third of A, and I want to be on a major third for A when I go back. So see, that's where you can get caught up in it if you're trying to treat it all as one system for all the just staying in A Mixolydian. So what I'm doing is I'm moving just like in blues. You move to different 7th chords. A Mixolydian, D7, D Mixolydian, same thing for E. Okay. Now, there are a lot of ways that you can kind of keep going past just this 4 shapes that we looked at, right? You can right? And feel free to do that. In fact, be sure to do that at a certain point. But again, when you switch chords, you gotta move the whole thing to the new root. Okay, so now let's see if I can pull this off. Let's close it out with, let's do a little rhythm where we do, let me see, A, and then D. I'll just do a 1 to 4, both dominant 7th chords. Check it out. Put a little more into it. can tell again, I had to adjust a little bit. I'm trying to keep the volume of the looped part way down when I'm doing this, and that's one thing about mine that's not very sophisticated is you can't really do every when you play back over it, the volume seems almost like it's kind of arbitrarily adjusts itself on the loop side of it or something. And I'm not really sure exactly what's going on with that. I guess I could read the instructions as my wife would probably advise me to do. And I haven't done that, of course. So maybe there's some other adjustment there, some mode. There is one other little toggle switch on it. I haven't really looked into it. Or it may just be so simple, this version of it, that it just doesn't really have a lot of capability like that. But there's a lot of different ones. I'm sure some of them are very advanced on how you can treat each layer of what you've looped separately and so forth. Some of them you might even be able to output them into a sequencer separately or something. I just want to click on it and go. So hopefully that was a little bit of help with working the loop business in there with your practicing. And these sequences, I went pretty slow on this today. I didn't do a whole lot of playing there. At the end, I did a little bit of demo of like how I would just mix that in with, pentatonic blues stuff and then go back to those licks and, move them around and treat them with different rhythmic, um, um, embellishments and so forth. But you do you on this. I might do one of these short uh, YouTube videos too if I have time this week where I'll just kind of demonstrate it and won't talk about it as much. Okay, so this one though, we really went through that stuff about the chord tones, and that's good training and theory and just learning the whole system when you do that. But when it's time to play, just memorize those moves and just go for it. Have fun. Talk to you next time.